In this video, I'm going to explain why searching for the deeper reasons for your binging behaviors is not an effective strategy and doesn't lead you toward recovery from binge eating. So, I'll explain why it doesn't work and then how you can learn to let go of searching for reasons and stop binge eating for good. I'm Katherine Hansen. I'm the author of Brain Over Binge and the Brain Over Binge Recovery Guide. Welcome to my YouTube channel where I teach practical, no nonsense advice about how to stop feeling so out of control around food. To help you along the way, you can get my free 31-day inspiration booklet that will help keep you motivated as you learn and implement the concepts that I teach here. You can get that booklet through the link in the show description or on brainoverbinge.com. And now I'll get to the topic of today's video, which is helping you let go of this search for reasons why you're binging. Now, it only makes sense that after we binge, we ask ourselves why. Why did I do this? Why did I do something that I know causes me so much pain? So it makes sense that we look for reasons. Now, in mainstream approaches, and I know in my own therapy, I was taught to look for those reasons. I was taught that this was helpful because if I could find the reasons why I was binging, then I could solve for those reasons. For example, if I found that one of my reasons for binging was loneliness, then I could make plans to fill my time so that I wouldn't feel lonely, and then theoretically, I wouldn't binge. Or if I found that one of my reasons for binging was anxiety, then I could do breathing exercises or relaxation techniques that would help tone down my anxiety and therefore reduce my desire to binge. If I determined that one of my reasons for binging was certain foods, then I could change up the foods that I was eating and therefore not want to binge anymore. And if doing any of these things or similar strategies is working for you, then great. I don't want you to change anything that you're doing that's working. But the problem was, this did not work for me. And this also doesn't work for many of the clients that I see in one on one coaching and in group coaching. This search for reasons for binging can become an endless cycle that actually doesn't lead to change. And I'll talk about some of the reasons why this may not be working for you. The first reason is because it's really hard to control some of these factors in our lives. It's very difficult to prevent all instances of loneliness, for example. As humans, we are going to feel lonely sometimes. We aren't always going to have the connections that we want or need in every moment. And things like anxiety or depression, these can be very sticky issues. These can be things that are longstanding and hard to solve, especially while struggling with the binge eating habit, which creates more anxiety and which creates more depression. Of course, you should seek help for any emotional issues that you're dealing with or any other problems that you face, but know that focusing on and curing those problems doesn't necessarily lead to a change in your binge eating behavior. And another reason why searching for the reasons for binging may not work for you is because of the way the brain works. Once we repeat a behavior enough times, or once a certain behavior becomes a habit or an addiction, the brain will always be able to find a reason to continue that behavior. Habits and addictions are perpetuated by this primitive part of our brain that's very automatic, it's very unthinking, and it just wants us to repeat what we've always done. It will motivate us toward these behaviors or addictions by using whatever justification or whatever reasoning gets you to act and gets you to perform that behavior. So even if you can find and solve for one particular reason that you think you binge and you stop binging in that certain situation, your brain is still going to have the habit of binging. It's still going to motivate you toward that behavior. So you'll just binge in another situation, and then you can work on solving that situation, but another situation will pop up. I know that was definitely the case for me once I started trying to really analyze my binges and find the deeper meaning in them. I found endless reasons. And my brain just kept producing more reasons. So I think an initial starting point as you're overcoming the binge eating habit is to recognize that your brain will continue to encourage you to binge. It will always have a justification, it will always have a reason. And spending a lot of your time trying to find those reasons is really just not productive. I believe that a much more useful way to look at this is to realize that there's only one reason that you binge, and that is because you have urges to binge. The urges are the one direct cause of each and every binge, regardless of if you're lonely or if you're anxious or if you feel depressed or whatever else is going on in your life. If you didn't have urges, you would not binge. Loneliness, anxiety, depression, in and of themselves, do not cause binging. If they did, then anyone who was anxious would binge. Anyone who was lonely would binge, but that's not the case. Over time, you've developed habits so that it's possible a certain emotion or a certain circumstance does lead to more urges, but it's those urges that are causing your binges. Once you realize that, it simplifies your search for reasons for binging. You've found the reason. It's because of the urges. And now, instead of trying to solve so many things in your life that you think are reasons for binging, you just need to solve for one reason. You need to learn how to manage those urges to binge so you're not following them and you're not binging anymore. And if you're new to the Brain Over Binge approach, I've included links in the show description to 5 podcast episodes that go through the process of dismissing urges to binge so that you can learn that skill. But just knowing that the urges are the reason makes recovery so much more simple because you don't have to solve your whole life. You don't have to learn how to cope perfectly with every emotion. You just need to learn how to stop acting on these urges. And a very important way you can help yourself stop acting on these urges is by realizing that there is never a reason to binge. And that brings this conversation full circle because when you spend your time endlessly looking for reasons and trying to solve for those reasons, you miss the biggest part of recovery, and that is letting go of the belief that binging is doing anything good for you, letting go of the belief that you need it or that you want it for any reason. Even if you struggle with some of the issues that I mentioned here, like depression, loneliness, anxiety, you realize that those are not reasons for binging. Those are normal human emotions, and they also could be reasons that you need to get further help in certain areas of your life. But those issues do not justify binging. Binging doesn't solve any of those issues. It doesn't solve problems with your emotions. It does not solve problems with the food you're eating. It does not solve problems with your weight. It doesn't solve for any issue that you may be struggling with. So when you have urges, remind yourself that a binge is not a solution to anything, and there's never a reason to binge. If you want more help and personalized support as you let go of the binge eating habit, we offer one on one coaching, group coaching, and I also have an online course that's only $18.99 per month. You can learn about all of that in the video description, and you can also find links to my 2 books there as well. Thank you so much for being here today, and I'll see you in the next video.